Welcome. I'm Miss Jill, and this is In the Know, where we let you know what's going on in your community as well as what is happening in the world around us. So please remember to like, subscribe, share, and stay with us. How are you guys?
You're doing good. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. So let's just jump right in. If you haven't noticed, there's been a lot going on in our own community in Fort Wayne, whether it be an event that Cam Coleman is throwing or something at the embassy, Richard Phillips, the Tunnel Vision production. So let's talk a little bit about what's been happening in the community and what's coming up.
What's coming up? Hey, you know about Richard Phillips. He just hit on Tunnel Vision. What's going on with him?
Oh, he's having trapper paint.
Trapper paint.
Or paint.
It's like sipping paint,
Yeah.
but it's a club type of
Gotcha.
atmosphere. So that's coming up in at the end of this month on the 30th.
Yeah, April 30th.
Okay.
And then we got the Color Purple coming to the city.
Yay.
The Color Purple?
Yes, the play.
Now, is that the
Man.
replacement? Because I remember during COVID last year, they were going to bring it. Is that the same production?
No, I don't think it's not. I don't think it's the same production.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree. I think it's something completely separate. What do we think
Well,
about?
I'm excited about that. I heard it was
I've,
good.
I've
If
seen the
it's-
Color Purple
Yes.
play, so I was just wondering if it was the
Okay.
same production.
What I thought was really interesting is they just had a play at the embassy, and I just saw an article where they're coming with a second play, but it
Okay.
specifically said that they're going to be doing castings and that they prefer people to be in the Fort Wayne area from
Yeah.
Fort Wayne.
I think that's really smart.
So,
It's
yeah.
smart marketing, and I think that will fill up the auditorium because I was at that play, and it was a great play. I think that having the people from Fort Wayne really pulled the crowd in because obviously they had a fan base.
You're
Right.
right.
So people
Right.
from the hometown, and so I think that made a difference.
But I like that aspect because it's, cultivating Fort Wayne talent. It's getting people ready to be able, because, there's somebody out there that always wanted to be on a stage and act in a play.
Oh,
They didn't
man.
have the opportunity or know where to go to do it.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's a smart move because that would
It is.
cultivate, and maybe that'll motivate some local playwrights
Yeah.
to, put shows
Absolutely.
together and do things like that. So
Absolutely.
I think that's a smart decision.
And you know what I have to say, I'll say the director, producer of the play, I can't think of his name right now, but he did say that he had never heard of Fort Wayne, Indiana. But on his way to another city, he said he got a call. And so he stopped by. But here's the thing. He said he had never heard of Fort Wayne, but he talked about this being one of the places that showed the greatest hospitality.
Right.
And
Right.
so,
Right.
yeah,
I think
he
it's
was really
awesome,
impressed with
too.
our city.
Years ago when we were talking on here amongst each other, we always said there was nothing for people our age and up to go do that wasn't so, feeling like you were out of place. So I know there's been a lot of events that have really brought people out into the community that normally wouldn't come out. So, I mean,
Man.
I think that's an awesome thing. I love the way that we're promoting Fort Wayne in
Oh
a
my
good
God.
way. These events are going off, without a hitch.
That's right.
So what else is going on? Do you guys have sports or something? You always want to talk about a game. Is there a game happening?
Oh yeah, I want
I mean,
to talk about it.
Yes, sir.
North
Yes, sir.
Carolina was looking good.
Clarence.
Yes. They were looking good into the last 5 minutes.
No, it wasn't. They was looking good until 15 minutes into the second half when Kansas just erupt on them.
It was.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't that bad. I watched
It
the whole
wasn't.
game. It wasn't.
They
that
came
bad.
back from a 16-point lead, man.
Yeah.
16 points.
Yeah, it was a great game.
It was a great
But
game.
I still stand. We said before it came on the air, if that young man from North Carolina hadn't hurt his ankle, I think it would have been a different outcome.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
It was rigged.
No, it wasn't rigged.
Kansas was using magnetic balls and everything.
No, it wasn't rigged.
Didn't people have a lot of money? Like, wasn't there a lot of bets involved? I heard.
I heard one guy lost $1 million on one play when Kansas stepped out of
Wow.
bounds. It was
Wow.
something better. Parlay. He lost $1 million on one play. First of
Wow,
all, I'm
that
not
should
betting $1
be-
million
I was
on
gonna say that should
anything.
be
Right.
illegal.
Yeah. So
No,
but,
no, it's not. I mean, I've been to the bar where we do bar bets and we do make calls like that. Hey, I bet he make next play is a 3-pointer, next play is a layup, or so and so gonna pass turn over the ball.
I got
So,
$1 million on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't
Wow.
putting no million on it. Now.
Wow.
If I had $1 million, wouldn't be betting on no game. Well, I probably
Say, you
would. But
big balling over there.
Well, I ain't
I
gonna
mean,
do
it
it.
just having
That's
bar bets
good.
is actually fun.
Yeah.
Now, my man, we gotta give a shout out to Keon Brooks Jr. He's making the big leap to the next level.
Wow.
See,
What you
declared.
got?
Congratulations to that.
I think he's ready. I think he'll do it. But I did also hearing that Sidney Curry decided to go back to Louisville, so that's just as good. He's going back to continue to get better, get his education. But yeah, But I wish Keon Brooks Jr. is the best. I mean, he's a great player, and I hope he's the next person that represents Fort Wayne on a national level.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
remember playing against his dad. His dad was a light out shooter.
What?
I mean, just could flat out shoot the ball. It wasn't no spot on the floor that he couldn't hit. So, shout outs to the Brooks family. Hey,
Shout out. And
Right.
I think that's good to hear, E, because I didn't really know that career as far as, how great you were. I'll say that.
I
And
wasn't
think-
great. I was a
but-
decent player.
Okay, but
I
that'd be
played
awesome
ball,
too,
but, I mean,
to
To be
look at that. Look
Yeah,
at some
I mean,
footage from when you were
it
playing.
all
I
got
would
messed
love
up. No, and the funny part about it, y'all think I'm joking, but
Oh,
yeah,
wow, that's too
all my
bad.
footage got flood damage.
Wow, man,
sorry.
I hate that. I would have loved to see that.
So, moving forward, Allen County authorities are working to reduce the population of the Allen County Jail after a federal judge last week sided with inmates in a class action lawsuit that made some claims about overcrowding, mistreatment. Let's go ahead and talk about that for a second.
Wow, whoever would have thought? I'm sure there were many inmates or people that visit the prison for however many days or hours they were there that thought, I ought to sue these people.
Mm-hmm.
And never did. But, so I would say good for him that he did this. And so change is on the way.
Yeah, and I was looking up and I was trying to find out if it was a specific lawsuit or a combination of lawsuits. They don't mention what specific lawsuit or what specific action brought this decision. But I know a person that was in Allen County Jail that filed a lawsuit. And his lawsuit was that the jail can only house X amount of people.
Right.
Mhm.
And they were triple that amount where they were having, in a 2-person cell, they were having 3 and 4 people in the cell.
Sleeping
And they
on
were
the
sleeping on the floor. They were, the conditions, the showers, they weren't getting showers in the right amount of times because they was get a shower every day. It'll be every 3 or 4 days that they were able to get a shower because
Right.
it was just that populated.
And when you say overcrowding, and that was probably the case here in Fort Wayne because our max would have been 741.
Yeah, that
And
was-
at some point it was like 830.
Yes.
So
And
you're
at one
talking
point it was-
166 plus.
At one point, it was even higher than that.
Yeah.
They had to let people out because they were over, and that was an action that the ACLU brought maybe 2 or 3 years ago, or it might have been a little longer. But they had to let people out because it was overcrowded. And again, they were having 4 people in a 2-person cell. They had
Wow.
people sleeping on the floor, and also, where they were looking at it, and I think they cited in the claim that they violated their 8th and the 14th Amendment rights. I do
Right.
believe those are the ones
Right.
that they cited in there. And the 8th right is, in the statute that they're talking about, is against cruel and unusual punishment, where, overcrowding was cruel and unusual. When I'm sleeping on a concrete cold floor,
Exactly.
and then I don't know about y'all, I don't know how many days a person can go without a shower, but
Right.
when you're going 4 or 5 days without a shower, that's
Right.
cruel and unusual punishment.
Cruel and
then-
unusual punishment. And even in a prison system, they have a right to safety. So
Right.
to have supervision from guards. And so the shortage of
Yeah.
workers,
Yeah.
things like that. So the overcrowding, of course, prompted more threats.
Right.
So the environment was not safe on a lot of different levels.
And you mentioned the guards, and that's where the 14th Amendment come in. A lot of them were saying that they were being racially profiled and mistreated
Mhm.
due to the guards and the shorting of guards, and they wasn't getting some of the privileges. So I see this, and I think it's a good thing. I really do. With all prisons, I'm not going to say they're all up to scratch, because the one in Westfield, they say that's one of the worst prisons in the country. So you have to, even though they did their crime, you cannot treat them like animals.
Right.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because on like the social media and things, people are saying, well, they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that. And we need to also make it clear that a lot of people that are in this jail are waiting for trial. They're
That's
waiting
right.
for, they're absolutely assumed to be innocent until they're proven guilty in a court of law. And regardless of what the crime, they are still they are
Human
still
being.
afforded basic human rights. I mean, that could be your son in there waiting for a DUI or
It
anything.
could be
So
you
it's
in there
reality.
waiting for-
Absolutely.
And you know what? So when you say that, so the pretrial detainees that's in there waiting, that is obviously one of the complaints, the threats that, even they have faced. But the other thing, as far as cruel and unusual punishment, would be those that need medications, different medications. And there's so many, like 60% of the inmates need some type of medication.
Right.
And so when you start thinking about the mental illness that's present and they are not getting their meds, then you have a problem. And so then there's more
Right.
threats.
But while we're on this, can we get to the nuts and bolts of how this was timed out and how everything came out? Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I was in a conversation with some people about 2 months ago, and I was observing all the buildup that they're building in that area. They got apartments, a high-rise apartment, a high income, a high rent-based apartment. They got the Promenade Park there. They're bringing restaurants and a hotel right.
Speaking
next
of
to it.
downtown,
Speaking of downtown.
yes.
So I asked, and we were having a conversation. I was like, now they can't possibly think that they're going to leave that jail
Right there.
in the midst of all of this, renovation and gentrification and all of this going on. So I foresaw this. I didn't know that this was going to be it because they came up with a plan quick. They are,
Right.
They ain't come up with the plan.
So-
that's what I'm saying. The
This was-
release and they're coming up with
yeah.
the plan quick.
Yeah.
That they're going to move it, and they're saying they're scouting locations and everything, and they're planning a $200 to $230 million
Yeah.
new facility.
Mhm.
So this wasn't just
Right.
No, it
if
wasn't.
they talk about Fort Wayne not having money or Allen County not having money, it ain't that they just looked and said, "Oh, I found $230 million."
And we can fix the situation real quick.
Yeah.
Real
And
quick.
you know what? And the truth is, they have been talking about construction in some form since 1980. And so now we're just getting to that point.
Well,
So,
actually, they redid the jail. Remember, because
Yeah, they redid
when
the
I
jail.
was in high school,
Yes.
remember the National Guard Armory sat in front of the jail,
Absolutely.
and it was smaller. So they
Yes.
expanded then. So
exactly. And so it was supposed to continue and it just kind of went away.
yeah,
And so here it is. It's back.
Yeah,
so
we'll have to keep an eye on that and
Yeah.
see what happens. Very interesting. So speaking of jails and prisons, so 91% of Americans actually think that this particular substance should be legal across the board in one way, shape, or form. So let's talk about cannabis, marijuana legalization. What could a new federal cannabis law mean? What could it mean for us, and what's going on with that?
Well, I can tell you one part of the law is the people that has a non-violent
Yes.
marijuana charge, it get dropped,
Right.
which
That
makes
would
sense.
be good.
It makes sense.
That would be good.
that's not in all cases, unfortunately.
It's non-violent. As long as
Yeah.
it was
If it-
non-violent.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. If it was nonviolent.
Yeah, and that's the right, but that's not the case in all cases, because there are still some people in California that
That
are
are still-
fighting
yeah.
to get free,
Mhm.
in Colorado that are still fighting to get free
Well, I mean,
from those.
the new bill that's supposed to be passed supposed to exonerate them from that.
Well, they just passed
They
it.
just
So for the
passed it.
second time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
it's-
just to break it down a little bit, as of April of this year, 37 states have legalized marijuana for medical use, and 18 states have legalized the recreational use. And, like I said, 91% of people approve
Mhm.
of this.
Well, it's,
It-
safe- it's safer than drinking.
It absolutely is.
Well,
it absolutely is.
It really
Okay.
is. It's safer.
We could
it's
go
way-
on-
I don't
it's
know.
Way safer than drinking.
Okay, and I wouldn't know, but from that perspective, but what I do want to say about that, when you talk about the 90%, as far as in the House, the votes that has happened, the 220 to 204. So what I think is going to happen, because they're looking at the opportunities connected to it if they pass it.
Mhm.
The money.
So
The money.
it's the money and the reinvestments, obviously, there's a lot that can happen if they actually legalize it.
And
So
just to touch base on what E said, so the House on Wednesday, I'm going to read this passage, passed the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement, or MORE Act, which removes cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act and requires courts to expunge convictions on nonviolent marijuana offenders. It passed by a vote of 220 to 204, and its chances of success are far slimmer in the Senate, where it would need to support all 50 Democrats and at least 10 Republicans to pass.
I again, to be the devil's advocate, I'm not gonna set my moneymaker free. So you keep that marijuana being, or those non-violent drug offense in prison. That's your capital.
Well, I mean, here's the
That's
other
your-
side, because also in that article they talking about the federal legalization of it, also with taxes.
Mhm.
Right.
So if that's their moneymaker right there.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about all in Colorado, almost $200-something million.
270 million. I believe.
Yeah, and just in taxes and state taxes. So just imagine what they can do with federal taxes on that.
Well, and you have to wonder too, we've talked before about prison labor, and basically slave labor in prison. So you've got a lot of people that are doing that free labor in prison that are in there for marijuana dealing or possession or whatever that has nothing to do with a violent charge. So they would actually, if those people are out, I mean, what are they going to do for prison labor? So there's all kinds of ways that you can look at this, whether you agree or disagree. I think it's going to come down to money. But
now, before we leave the conversation of urban essentials, how do you guys feel about? Yeah, I heard that from somebody on the set, so, young person the other day. I kind of like that. But how do you feel about that? Like for real, because we can say what we say, but realistically, if you were getting ready to go in to have some medical treatment or whatever, would you really want to know, or would you want a doctor working on you that, is at home, with a little bit of this urban essential and feeling like it's all right and I can think better and I can perform this heart surgery a little bit better with this in my system?
But as he said, it's safer than alcohol. Think about it. There were pilots that were flying drunk. I mean, there was pilots flying drunk. I mean, so it's like anything that you make accessible. There's always going to be an overuse or an abuse or a misuse of anything.
Yes.
Right.
Look at the prescription drugs. You don't know if your doctor's on those prescription drugs. Yeah. But what I think, and where I think it is legal, is for the medicinal purposes, where the cancer patients, the AIDS patients, the people that suffer from chronic pain, where we're battling the opioid addiction. If, they say the marijuana could offset that, or the THC or something. So if that is the fact, then I'm total for it, because why create a chemical addict where, when everybody know the marijuana is a herb, that it's natural, so it won't have the addictive effect as all these other drugs, because you go to the doctor, they're going to give you a pill.
Right. Yeah, I know they just made the world's largest, it's in the Guinness Book, it's going to go in the Guinness Book, the world's largest marijuana, cannabis brownie, whatever they call it. And I think they say it weighs like, I want to say it's either 3 tons or 8 tons or something like that. I'm wondering how.
But I guarantee Snoop and
what kind
Willie
of oven did they bake it in?
Field trip.
Crazy.
So I'm gonna have to agree with Clarence. So right now, almost everybody that or that you see is on either some kind of psychotropic medication, some kind of depression medication, serotonin. There are so many medications out there, and I don't know if my doctor has taken 47 Percocets before he worked on me, or if he's all doped up on anything else.
Right.
But just from people around me and personal things that I've encountered, I know that cannabis or marijuana has replaced a lot of medications in a lot of different aspects for healthy reasons. So I'm all for it 100%.
And so I know we got to get off this subject real quick, but I'm just thinking about this because we did talk last week about, and I hate to bring it up, but just, to make a point, the roller coaster not being locked. And so I'll leave it at that. So my thing is, if everybody's smoking, everybody is allowed to carry guns, I'm seeing a different picture here and a different outcome that I'm feeling. I can say for myself, just being in California and just driving, you in the car with the Uber driver, and everywhere you stop, it's like that's what you smell. And so I can't say I don't want it to be legalized, but I'm saying what happened to all of the bad things that they said before. Now they're trying to make it legal for the government, to sell it and make money. Before, when it was in the basement at Ray Ray's, I'm just saying it was so bad.
Right.
So I'm just saying. So what is it?
It wasn't bad then. I just look at it.
So they telling the truth now. Is that
the truth?
Okay.
The truth is coming out about cannabis.
Okay.
But if I can put you on a medicine that I can make, as far as the pharmaceutical companies, versus I can go out here and grow me some herbal essence.
Okay.
And put one in the air.
Herbal essence.
And be cool and not have that pain, but I can get you addicted to opioid.
Right.
And like I said, once it affects a certain demographic of people, now there's an issue.
Okay.
As long as it affects this demographic of people, it's all right. But when it affects this demographic of people, oh no, we got to figure something out.
Yeah. And if we can get this demographic of people in jail because they're messing with marijuana that was so terrible back then, this is what we're going to do so that we can put these people out of their homes.
And I just want to answer Doc V's question before we leave. And I do know that certain places. Like the NBA is no longer testing. It's no
Mhm.
longer in their ban list. The NFL is working on it. I don't know where Major League Baseball or hockey stands on it. So yes, people are going to stop testing for it. But I agree with you with what you said, Doc V. The comprehensiveness of what if somebody, because school bus drivers, they should be tested. Well, any transportation person should be tested. Police officers should be tested. There is going to be a safety aspect that we have to consider, and that I would love to know what their makeup or what they're thinking.
The rate, the percentage of car accident that
they
that
do for
has
alcohol too.
increased.
Exactly.
All of
if
that.
was the case, every bus driver or every police officer need to blow into that little.
Anyway,
bus
you
stand
said-
I
to
agree.
start up
I'm
their car.
not disagreeing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how I look
And
at it.
I know
I didn't
that's
disagree.
a whole show by itself, isn't it?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Let's
Yeah.
keep an eye on that and see what happens. So
Yes.
this is something that's going to relate to everybody. The price of things right now, the price of hotels at spring break, the price of gas to drive to spring break, the price of food. So let's talk a second about the price of everything and what it's doing to our communities locally and nationally. So just a couple numbers for you. Fats and oils are forecasted to increase between 6 and 7%. Fresh fruits and vegetables, which is crazy, 5 and 6%. Cereals, bakery goods between 3 and 4%. And farm cattle prices are forecasted to increase almost 7%, which they did in February alone. The forecast says another 15.5% this year. That is a lot.
That is.
15.5%.
And you know what? I was asking some people questions about their grocery bills actually today and their spending and their strategic plan as they go to the grocery store. And so I thought, is this a good time to do bulk, especially for people that have more children? And this particular lady said not necessarily, because sometimes with bulk you can waste.
Right.
So especially if people not really using that. So the strategic plan is to go in there and get the things that you know you need, the things you know you're going to consume. Not to explore new things and stuff and take stuff home that the kids won't eat, etc. So I thought that's a good strategy, because I know myself, I see things and I sample and you like, okay, let me try this. And I'm saying not now. You don't want to sample, you want to get the stuff that you know
Exactly.
But
you really need.
unfortunately, Doc V, a lot of the things that you normally need on a regular basis, that's where the price is hitting us most. The
Yeah.
eggs, the milk, the bread, the cheeses, the meats, that's where it's hitting us the most.
But that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You're going to use it.
And that's why it's hitting us the most.
Yeah.
It's in the high demand, and and it's really hard. And Jill said about spring break. Matter of fact, I'm trying to plan a trip now, and I looked to rent a van. Last year, I could have rented a van for the time that it would cost me maybe $300-$400.
Yeah.
Now it's going to cost me anywhere between $900 to $1,000 for the time frame that I need.
Right. And
That's
so
the
you
rent
said
the van.
spring break. I
And
can
then
tell you
get the gas and
exactly. You're going to be spring broke.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why a lot of people, talking to some of my students, usually you hear this trip, that trip, this flight,
Yeah.
etc. But there were a lot of students that said no, their parents couldn't afford it. They trying to bounce back from all of the increases.
And like you said, Clarence, I think, it's not just like, oh, almonds are expensive. We won't eat almonds, or this is expensive. So the
Right.
top 5 things that are said to continue to increase astronomically are housing. That's obviously a necessity. Heating costs could rise nearly 30%. That is a lot if you think about, how you heat your home, whether it be propane, gas, whatever. Prescription drug plans are expected to increase around 5%. So think of your folks on, senior citizens, people on a fixed income. Cars, we talked about the average price of a new car is around $40,000 for an average price. So these aren't things that we can just maybe not buy. These are all things that we need in our everyday lives. So we do want to thank you for being with us tonight. We want to invite you tomorrow at 8:30 for NV in Depth, where we dig into poverty, the other side of poverty. Poverty is not an accident. Like slavery and apartheid, it is a man-made and can be removed by the action of human beings. Thank you.